Another accumulation method using 2 exercises done in a row without any rest or very little is post-fatigue. Now, in pre-fatigue that we saw earlier, you started with an isolation movement for a weaker muscle, and then you moved on to the multi-joint exercise in which that muscle is involved. Now, post-fatigue is the opposite. You would start with the big compound movement. So for example, a squat. And then after that set, you would switch to an isolation movement for the lagging muscle group. For example, like extension. Now, I'm going to explain to you why a muscle might not receive stimulus from an exercise. It's pretty simple. Your body hates you, but it also really likes you, meaning that it doesn't care that you want a big chest and look good on the beach. It only knows that there's a big ass weight trying to kill you. And if you don't lift it, you're gonna actually die underneath the bar. So in the interest of survival, your body will focus on its stronger muscles. So if my deltoid and triceps are overpowering, then my body will naturally rely on these muscles more so than my chest. The result is that at the end of my set, the triceps and shoulder might be fully fatigued, meaning that I recruited the growth-prone fast-twitch fibers, but I didn't fully recruit the money fibers in my chest, making that muscle unstimulated or not optimally stimulated. So basically, I'm trying to make my chest grow larger, but what I'm doing is not working. So with post-fatigue, what I could be doing is that, let's say I'm doing my bench press, my chest is not fully stimulated after the set because I'm not good at recruiting it. I could finish off with an isolation exercise for the chest in which the other muscle groups are not really involved, so I can finish off the job. So after my set of bench press, I might be like 50% fatigue in my chest, while I can do a set of pec deck or cable crossover and then create full fatigue in my chest, fully recruiting the growth-prone fast-twitch fibers due to the accumulation of fatigue. So that way, I can gradually make that muscle stronger. Another interesting element is that the big lift, because I'm using fairly heavy weights, serve as an activation tool. It basically excites the nervous system as well as the neuromuscular junction, the connection between the signal and the muscle itself. So by increasing activation with a big compound lift, I can actually make the isolation movement more effective. The more activated my nervous system is, the more I can contract efficiently a muscle. So by doing a bench press, then following with a pec deck or a fly, for example, then my contraction of the chest will be superior. And I can finally create that full fatigue that I missed on the bench press. So that takes my weak muscle and makes sure that it receives full stimulation. Now, it's not as effective for reprogramming my nervous system as the pre-fatigue. By pre-fatiguing a muscle, I teach the inclusion of that muscle inside the big compound lift. You don't get that as much with the post-fatigue, but you still get the full stimulation. So for example, if you want to correct a weak muscle, you could actually start with the pre-fatigue method, doing an isolation then a compound lift for 4 weeks. Then the next 4 weeks, you would switch to post-fatigue. Now you can use more weight on the big lift, and you can still finish off the target muscle if the main movement didn't do the job. So that progression will teach you to involve a lagging muscle in the big movement while also making it grow as much as possible. So very effective methods both to increase the size of the muscle as well as its integration in a compound movement. So that was the use of post-fatigue training to build up a lagging muscle group.